I am a pastor and have moved on to help people deal with their addictions, number one, and to be a spiritual guide and help people assimilate what they've learned over life.
Full moon evening, and especially if it falls on a weekend.
Yeah.
The hospital emergency rooms are just flooded with all kinds of
And
patients.
it's very astrological in that sense. So,
And what contributes to people making the decision that they're going to break the addiction and they don't want to live that way? What in your experience is the catalyst where they just finally say, this is not how I want to live?
sorry that we begin with love, that we love ourselves, that we love everybody else around, that we do not criticize other people, we listen, we have our opinions, and we also learn how to keep those emotions within boundaries.
In your professional opinion, is addiction more common now than maybe it used to be? Because I know people now are even addicted to their cell phones.
Everything in addiction sometimes just overwhelms people. And then their families don't know how to deal with it either. So they can feed the addiction with the intention of trying to help.
Hello, everyone. It's Mary Lynn with Shift Your Energy Now podcast. And with me today, I have a very special guest, Jeff Holder, who's a pastor and also a spiritual advisor. And he specializes in working with people with addiction. So today, he's going to talk about that. And so, Jeff, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Well, I am Jeff Holder, and I have been a pastor for a number of years, had many other jobs as well. It's been a long life. But anyhow, I am a pastor and have moved on to help people deal with their addictions, number one, and to be a spiritual guide and help people assimilate what they've learned over life.
And so can you tell us what kinds, you were saying that addiction is like a trigger. Can you talk about like what your experience has been with addiction, and if anybody knows anybody or you are addicted to something, give them some advice? So.
You know, I think a lot of it has to do with helping people understand that love is the force behind absolutely everything. So
Okay.
in the case of triggers, well, first of all, let me back up. Everything in life is a trigger of one kind or another. We're just loaded with triggers, right? People who have addictions to alcohol or drugs, whatever their addiction is, it's another trigger. I know I don't mean to minimize addiction, but it's nothing to be a victim of. So
I think it's common too. People, there's all kinds of things we could be addicted to, exercise or alcohol or just bad behavior, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily an addiction to like a substance or something.
Right.
There's so many ways that addiction plays out in our lives.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that when you start working with someone who has an addiction, what does that look like?
Well, first of all, you have to have a willing participant. And here's the thing about life. In any pursuit, some people are and some people aren't. So, and I try to work with the people who are, because the people who are not really there yet are not ready. So they're not ready to work on their trigger, which can be a problem. So we have found that if you love yourself, you'll make progress. The problem is, with addictions, they're a matter of shame. You get shamed for it in society. A lot of the programs that are out there to treat addiction are programs that leave you in a tenuous place. Like, you could fall off the wagon tomorrow.
Oh.
So if people are able to love themselves and understand who they really are underneath, we're just wearing a spacesuit, really. The soul is sacred underneath of us. You begin to appreciate the sacred soul that they are, and to love themselves. So we do a lot of work on loving yourself and trying to share that with the group, because it is a group therapy.
So
And
number one is the person needs to want assistance,
Right.
and they're ready to give up or deal with the addiction.
right,
And then you start with that group of people who want change, and then you kind of work with them to understand that they have a soul, that they're just not this personality acting out,
Right,
and that to start
right.
loving themselves.
So they become a loving group, and they begin to make progress. And I'd say that initially, if I'm able to weed out those people who are not ready yet, it's not
Okay.
dismissal. You could work with people forever, but it's easier to work with people who are ready, not ready. I can't make them ready. So,
And what makes a person ready in your experience?
well, like anything else, I'm going to lose weight. Okay, I'm going to start that. I'm going to be faithful with it. I'm going to stop blinking so much. Whatever it is, you're going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop smoking cigarettes. That's an addiction.
Right.
You can do that, and it depends on your state of mind whether you even have any withdrawal or not.
Oh.
Love yourself, and when you do, you'll respect yourself enough to say, now I'm going to do this.
Right.
We were talking earlier about that same kind of thing in our own lives. The only barrier between us and accomplishing something is our will to do it, and our faith that we can do it.
Right.
So there's a lot of this is a floating program. You know what I mean? You have to work not just with triggers, but you have to get people in the right state of mind, sort of at the right vibration, in order to make it work.
Right.
So
They have to be ready. Then you have a group dynamic, which is more supportive, I think, for the person, because they can see other people. And although their addiction might be different, the process is the same on healing.
Well, here's the thing. We've looked at the 12 steps that we want to include in the program and the 12 steps that we're leaving alone, and we're not desecrating the 12-step program. That works for some people, more power to them. But this, I think, is a more spiritual approach to it. So, and that really didn't answer your question. But what I was going to say was, in that process, these people all stay in the program and serve as helpers. So
Oh, okay.
they become a group of counselors on their own.
Oh,
So when
okay.
somebody comes in, they love that person to death. They know the process, they know the
been through
advice,
it.
they know when to ask the questions. They become, so that's the last step.
It's a community.
Yeah, it's the third step, right? You encounter the problem, you treat the problem, and then you turn around and help other people who are following the same path that you have been following.
Right. And in your professional opinion, is addiction more common now than maybe it used to be? Are a lot, because I know people now are even addicted to their cell phones.
Yes.
So it's, in the past, it was more like common for work or, drugs or alcohol. But now it seems like people are getting addiction to any kind of distraction.
Oh, everything is a trigger. Absolutely, everything is a trigger, and that
Or can
includes-
be.
or
Can be a
Can
trigger.
be. Well, there's a dark and a light side to every trigger. The light's
Okay.
always there, but you can cloud the lens with your own darkness.
Wow.
So, boy, that was a side trip, wasn't it? Well, the most wonderful thing about this is the progress that people make afterwards. So
And Jeff is from California, and we're in beautiful Hawaii on the Kauai Island. And it seems like this place is so peaceful that it almost makes you, more reflective and healthier in a mindset. For the people that you help with addiction, does environmental have a lot to do with it? do you
it
think?
does. It does. And funny enough, so do the cycles of the moon and everything else has an effect on. I spent when I was in my 30s and early 40s as a business director for a psychiatric hospital, very popular back then. And so there were places where, when you get around a full moon, more people come into the...
I heard about that. I heard in emergency rooms
Yeah.
on a full moon evening, and especially if it falls on a weekend.
Yeah,
The hospital emergency rooms are just flooded with all kinds of
and
patients.
It's very astrological in that sense. So that there's a certain cycle. In hospitals, since I was in that business, you say any given day, a third of the people get well, a third of the people get worse, and a third of the people are about the same. So.
I didn't know that was the formula at the hospitals.
Yeah.
No.
But during that time, the borders of that maxim, are stretched quite a bit. So, yeah.
So for addiction, what tips do you have for people whose family or they may be like triggered with addiction and feel like does it take over you kind of where you're not living your best life because you got the thing, whatever it is, your phone or alcohol or working out, exercising.
Yeah.
I've met some people that,
Everything in addiction sometimes just overwhelms people. And then their families don't know how to deal with it either. So they can feed the addiction with the intention of trying to help. We've noted that everybody has their own journey. So that if I were an addict and you tried to talk me out of it, like we were talking about earlier, I'm still going to be addicted until that moment that I decide not to be, so.
And what contributes to people making the decision that they're going to break the addiction and they don't want to live that way? What, in your experience, is the catalyst where they just finally say, this is not how I want to live?
In a lot of cases, it's just recognizing the fact that you've been banging your head against a brick wall for quite a while.
Okay.
Would you like to stop?
Okay, yeah.
And that might be a little heavy-handed by some standards, but the truth is, sometimes addiction has an extensive amount of time that people need to take to go get the drug, to consume the drug, to make excuses to other people, to clean up the house once every 3 weeks, or, all of the things that no glow, no life, so leave people alone in their journey. If they're sinking to the ground, that's their journey. You can't stop them from sinking to the ground. Don't nurse habits that are terrible habits. So, and that's very hard for people.
Yeah.
But it's my child. Yes, I understand. It is.
Right.
But until you're able to,
So people that do try to help their child repeatedly, it doesn't work until the person who's addicted decides, right? So are they just spinning their wheels or?
In my family, I have a nephew, excuse me, I have a nephew who is in his 50s, getting to be in his later 50s, and he's forever been on drugs, but his folks, my blessed brother and his wife, are absolutely the worst influence on their children because they want to have a relationship with their children and mistaking the relationship with the children for the experience of being stepped on by their children all the time. Oh. So they're lifelong codependents because they're participating in the dependency. So, so that would be an example of a family that's had all the therapy they could possibly have in this regard, but they're not willing to let go as parents. So, and I keep coming back to that. Yeah.
It's kind of like there's no good, bad, right, or wrong.
Yeah.
But you do see patterns that are not helpful.
Right, right. All the time, just like any other thing.
Yeah.
Any other addiction.
Wow.
In that particular group I'm speaking of, there is someone whose addiction was simply that this person had more or less a breakdown,
Okay.
and was on very large amounts of calmatives and medications for a disorder that really is kind of based in OCD. At any rate,
Okay.
her addiction was her mental state and restoring a relationship and so on and so forth.
Wow.
And so that was her addiction. Another person was an addict to just about anything that came along. If it's good,
Yeah.
I'll try it.
Yeah.
So these are people that stayed to work their problems out.
Wow.
And and they're the successes.
And is there anything people can do to help prompt the addicted person to seek help? Like, I know sometimes there's an intervention, like, oh, we'll just all sit down as a family and, talk to the person. Do those things help, or?
It's like that astrological thing again, that you can get somebody to say, because they're out of food and they're out of coffee and they really don't have a place to sleep anymore and they've been surfing, but nobody else wants them to sleep on their couch.
Yes.
They'll say yes to a program because it's everything they don't have right at the moment.
Right.
So again, it's attitudinal.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of humanity, / spiritual things you can learn once you set that aside, because everything in your life comes to a halt and worships your addiction. And
So people will just, for survival reasons, say, yeah, I'll go into a program.
Yes.
But it's really just to
Yeah.
temporarily get out of a situation.
it's always timing and and helping people see the simple step between here and sobriety of one kind or another.
Yeah.
So-
Or clarity.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so on that note, what advice do you give to the listeners and the
I
viewers?
I think one of the things that you can perhaps the people who have more active programs than anything else are churches. And sometimes that's all the church has going these days is programs and outreach. Because churches are not what they used to be. Things are breaking down in that world. But there are a lot of different churches who are involved in programs, not quite like this one, but that will help you, will not pound things into your head and will help you in this gentle, caring way.
And if somebody isn't Christian, do the Hindus and the different religious
My
sects have a similar program?
My rule for my program was, because I could make the rules, was that we honored anybody. It didn't matter whether you had a religion, whether you believed in God, whether you were agnostic, whatever you were, whatever you look like, wherever you were born, whatever is your inclination, come into the group. We've not failed yet. So, and if you're in an area where there are a lot of Spanish-speaking folks or any other language, make sure that you have those folks in your program, and so that they can help you as well. When the languages don't match, nothing much happens.
Right.
So
Right.
that's very helpful as well. So find something that is comfortable for your ear and your language, and that would
And
be
that
my advice
resonates
there.
with you. I think when
Yeah.
you find a group of people that resonate with you, you have a higher chance of success in whatever it is that you're trying to change.
There is a resonance to truth, and you can't really hear that resonance until you are done with addiction and you've actually set it aside. That begins to come through.
Yeah, you get that clarity
Yeah.
and you feel like, oh, I have a life to live.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever is that frequency, but your body, your heart, your mind, your soul knows that truth. And when you begin to sense what is true from what is a rumor, I think you're well on your way away from addiction and living the life the way it should be lived.
And how long does it usually take in your experience for somebody who just starts a program until they have that freedom?
I'd say probably 3 out of 5 come along fairly quickly. I think the precepts are that we begin with love, that we love ourselves, that we love everybody else around, that we do not criticize other people, we listen, we have our opinions, and we also learn how to keep those emotions within boundaries. So
Right.
all of these things are of the soul in a sense, as well as for our own human body and our own human mind. So
Oh, yeah,
very
great
helpful.
advice.
Yeah, we've gotten a little space age.
And I think that's really like on Hawaii too, their culture is very loving. And when you love and accept others, even though they're different or they may have, problems or addictions, and love regardless, I think it gives the person who is addicted or challenged the space to make the changes and the support.
When you're actually loved by other people and they're not just loving here, this
Yeah,
spacesuit,
yeah.
they're loving your soul, right?
Right.
And loving somebody's soul and being loved back by somebody's soul, which we all carry around with us.
Because we really are souls.
Yeah.
With a body, we are not a body with a soul.
It all leads to that higher resonance that gets blocked until you can move these things out of the way. Mm-hmm. And very much like life, because there's a lot of things, a lot of triggers, not necessarily all addictions, but they're things that we need to work on to be our higher selves. Mm. And to be loved by somebody's soul, there ain't nothing like it.
Okay, with that, Jeff Holder from California and Mary Lynn, we're in beautiful Kauai, if you may notice the beautiful background. And if you have addictions or someone you love has addictions, love them. Really love them. And also you can look for resources. Do you have any recommendations?
Probably not any more than I would prefer myself, if I needed treatment today, to go to a non-12-step program, only because it leaves you on solid ground. And 12 steps for me are a little too tenuous. You're still on a wagon. You could fall off at any time. So don't fall off the wagon, whatever you do.
So if you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, share, comment. And from Jeff and I from beautiful Kauai, have a nice day, and we'll see you in the next episode.